So I am kind of on a journey to figure out who and what Antifa is.
Great, well, you came to the right place.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you being the author of the handbook, I just gotta ask, is Antifa even real?
Yeah, it is, but not in the way that Donald Trump says it is. So Antifa is short for anti-fascist in a bunch of different languages, and it's not one specific group or organization with a headquarters or a CEO. If you do the kinds of activities or organize a group that basically aims to shut down the far right in one way or another, you're basically Antifa. The history of anti-fascism in general goes back 100 years. People are generally more familiar with opposition to Hitler and Mussolini. What people know less about is how after World War II, the question became how to make sure that you don't get another Holocaust or another Mussolini in power. A great example is Britain, where right after the war ends, Oswald Mosley, who organized the British Union of Fascists in the 1930s, gets out of prison. He starts a new movement, doesn't call it fascist, but it is fascist, and it's really anti-Semitic. So this group of Jewish World War II veterans, which calls themselves the 43 Group, says, we're not going to let this happen at home after we fought the Nazis. So they just organize to physically disrupt these fascist anti-Semitic meetings, and they're successful. In a couple of years, Mosley's movement falls apart.
When you say physically disrupt, what are we doing?
They would beat the crap out of the fascists. These were guys who...
They were the real deal.
They saw their people almost exterminated.
Take that model and fast forward to 2020. Like, I've seen videos of, like, Antifa folks going around punching Nazis in the face. I mean, it seems like that would be personally cathartic, but is it good for the movement?
That's the interesting debate over the last few years is, does physical confrontation with the far right help them or hurt them, or is it irrelevant, right? And I think that on its own, if that were all that these folks were doing, that would be insufficient and not necessarily all that important. But I think if you look at the history, you can see that the overall goal is to make it so that being a Nazi or being a fascist is personally, economically, and socially untenable. Physical confrontation is part of the repertoire, but it's not the most commonly used tactic. More often, Antifa groups will succeed by doxing the far right, exposing who they are, getting them fired. It's this notion that we don't let them have the streets, we don't let them normalize their politics. No matter the size, they need to be stopped as soon as possible.